been a while, hasn't it? God, it's really bright in here today, which is nice for a change. It's been a while. Two reasons for that. One, because this year, weather-wise, has been horrendous. It's been really bad. I haven't had the car out anywhere near as much as I'd like to have had, or as much as I've had in the previous years. So therefore, less footage, less things to do to it, shall we say. And also the other side of that is I've pretty much run out of things to do with the car now, by and large. I had ideas about putting a hardtop, making a custom style fastback hardtop for it and this kind of thing, which I'm not saying I'll never do, but at the moment, not so much. But most of the jobs I've done on the car that I intend to do from the beginning are now all complete. So I'm at a bit of an impasse, really, with this car for the moment. So let's have a quick, before we get into the main subject matter today, let's have a quick go back and just see what we've been doing for the last year or so on this car.
So what did we get done this year? Well, mainly we got the front end finished, didn't we? This is the big projects. This is the love it or hate it. This is the Marmite thing, as we say in the UK. It's one of those things that you either love it or hate it. As many people like it, as many people don't like it. I get that. I knew that from day one. A lot of people would go, no, you've ruined it, what have you done? It looks disgusting. But I think it looks quite cool, so I don't care, it's my car, right? So this, the bonnet, the entire front, I call it a bonnet, it ain't really a bonnet, is it? Or a hood, if you're in Freedom Land. It's the wings, it's the whole damn thing, it's the entire front of the bloody car, it's a lot of work. And everything's still there. My grill's still there, amazingly, none of the bits have fallen out of it, all the lights work, all the indicators work. And having this front end is so much kinder on the car. For a start, you've got this massive open grille in here, and you can see straight through into the radiator. So you get loads and loads of airflow. So that's the problem with a lot of those classic cars where they have the really low pitched nose, like the Spit, with a tiny little grille in the bottom. Hence why they always put their number plates as stickers on the front of the bonnet, because the airflow through them is not good. Whereas this one now, airflow flows through absolutely lovely. I've had no warming issues at all since doing this. And of course I've got an alley twin core rad in it as well. And with the scoop, which I put on there mainly just for the look, just because I like the look of the old American muscle cars with the scoop. And obviously the front end. This lines up very nicely with the carb. So I haven't got to have a cold air funnel from the carbs coming down to the front, so it's not sucking hot air off the exhaust manifold. It always gets a supply of cold air straight under the hood, and that also helps to keep the top of the block nice and cool as well. Because these old engines, they do run hot. Now I haven't even turned the key in this car for 4 or 5 months. I don't know if the battery's still charged. So I'm going to go and pull the hazard stalk and just see, well, let's turn the key on and see if there's any life in it. As you can see, it's got covered in dirt from all the spidery things that live on the roof. There's cobwebs on the steering wheel. Let's see if there's any life in the old girl. Got dash lights, and my AFR gauge is coming to life. Wow, okay. So the battery's still charged. Pull the old hazard stalk. Oh yeah, all my little lights still work. Side repeaters. Good, and I can see the tails flashing off the garage down there. Well, that's nice. So some of the wiring still works. I'm not going to try and start it up because which way do you turn it? Oh no. That's the only thing with this car that annoys me. The indicators are on this side, and they're not normally on UK cars, and the ignition barrel is on that side. Those two things should be swapped over. I can never remember which way to turn the ignition on this car to start it. Normally you turn the ignition away from you to start it. On this car you turn it towards you to start it. Whenever I drive this car for a while, then go back to my other car, I'm always grabbing the wiper arms and things. It's a bit of comedy. But it doesn't look too bad considering there's a lot of dirt down here on the back, and that's come off these doors somehow. It's probably just rust coming off the top of these doors. These doors do have a habit of blowing open in really, really windy weather, hence why I always roll the car all the way back down here. This boot lid does need a respray. Clearly I didn't take it back to bare metal properly when I sprayed it, because we can see that we've got rust bubbles coming through. But that's not a big job. I've still got some paint left. I can take that, DA it back to bare metal, etch prime it, and she'll be good to go. What else do? We fit our light bezels. Again, some people like them, some people don't. That's cool. These are just vacuum formed plastic. We used a actual light to put on the vacuum former, so we sucked it over the light, cut the squares out, and it just gives it a bit of silver, just a bit of colour, just to separate the lights, because I don't like just the plastic block lights. Again, I prefer the American look. I like the old Mustang style 3-cell lights, hence why I did that. And also painting this black panelling, like you see on the Dolomites, that rear panel in black, I think that actually looks quite nice. I prefer the look of that. And we fitted a new fuel tank, because the old one just wasn't doing it. It had a couple of rust holes in the corner, which I fixed when I first got it, and then after a while I came out and I could smell fuel in here, and of course you rub your hand underneath and it felt wet. So we put a brand new fuel tank in it. That wasn't cheap, but nice to know you're not going to be sucking any rust in or anything else from now on. I do need to put this fuel into the car, because that's been in there for about a year, so I really should put that into the car. And we did our carpets. Man, the amount of cobwebs in here, look at this, the spiders just make everything home. And the carpets we did as well, they need a bloody good clean. But we took all the original carpets, which come in a number of pieces, out, put them through the sewing machine, and actually stitched them together. So rather than having joins in the carpet when you look through the car, it's all one piece, which I think actually looks much better. I wanted to get some moulded carpets, but you know, they're expensive, aren't they? But at some point, I still will get some moulded carpets. We did our AFR gauge, as I showed you earlier. So that's now in there. For no other reason than it just makes tuning the car easier. You can see in real time any changes you make to your mixture. We'll show you there, and you can tell when you're running whether it's running rich or lean. It was a bit of a project, wasn't too much of a hassle to install, and I think it's quite a nice touch. And the biggest job of the year by far was our single carb install. Again, mixed sort of feelings from people generally on putting a single carb in, but I can tell you from driving experience, you would never know driving this car that I had a single carb rather than a twin. There is no drop in performance that I can ascertain. Maybe if you took it on a track or a rolling road you might know, but from my point of view it runs absolutely sweetly. Very, very nice. This is a HIF 44 carb, pretty much the last carb made before everything went to fuel injection, with a K&N filter. That came with it. I wouldn't have bothered buying it, but it came with it. All the standard things: fuel in, our breather return, vacuum advance, and then we pull a vacuum off our manifold for our brake booster. And we used a Herald 1360 manifold. That was a nightmare to get it to fit with what people would call the Euro 1500 exhaust manifold. This is the one where it's just one thick section in the middle that comes down, which is the better manifold because it goes 4 into 2 and then 2 into 1 as it goes down, which, as you can see, I've wrapped in exhaust tape just to try and keep the heat away from it a little bit. But that required an obscene amount of grinding. It doesn't fit very well up here where the two manifolds meet down there. You have to grind a lot of material off that Herald manifold, the inlet manifold, to get it to fit over the exhaust manifold. But it's done now. If I was doing it again, I'd be a lot more aggressive with my grinding, and I probably would have got it done a lot quicker. But it runs perfectly. Runs very nicely, doesn't overheat, and as I say, the advantage with having one carb It's just quite simply, you've got one of everything. You've got one idle, you've got one fast idle, and you've got one mixture screw. That's it. No vacuum balancing, no slackening linkages, taking slop out, none of that. It is just literally a screw for each. Fast idle, and mixture. And that's it. It's so much easier for tuning. And again, if you're going to get the same performance out of it, for me it's a no-brainer. I've still kept the old twin carbs, HS4s, with the manifold and the linkage. I may sell it, I may keep it, I don't know. I don't know if they're worth anything, but I'll keep hold of it for the moment. Right, now, I said I wasn't going to start it. There's no point, I'll go in smelling a petrol. Let's give her a start, let's see if it starts. This hasn't been started, it's a genuine start, it hasn't been started in 3 to 4 months at least. I don't even know if the battery's charged, so we'll do this in real time, we'll find out. See if she's got any life in her. So, choke all the way out, neutral, contact. Well, there you go. Nothing wrong with that. Off the choke straight away, idling at 500. Wow. Admittedly, if you tried to drive it now, it would bog, but you know, she's there. Smoking a little bit, burning off all the oil from the oil leaks it definitely doesn't have. Smells very rich and fuely, as you'd expect. I'm going to go and open the door before I get some kind of disease. What the hell's happened here? That started lovely. I couldn't believe how quick it started actually. I thought you'd be wailing away on it for a while to try and fill the bowl of the car before it even fired, but that fired like I'd driven it last week. And it's been, I say, a good 3 months. It's just been rain, 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 wind, and rain. And today is the first sunny day we've had with no wind or rain that I can remember for a while. I see why people leave the UK. I really do. The thought of living somewhere like Arizona right now is very appealing. But there we go. It starts and runs lovely. Who would have thought?
So, as per the title, I said, if I could go back, would I do it all again? And the answer is twofold. Of course, nothing's ever simple, is it? It's yes and no. So, yes, absolutely. I've loved doing the car, loved pulling it apart, all the bits and bobs, even sometimes when you're upside down in the footwell, trying to reach that nut that you just can't see. Even those tough times, when you look back with hindsight and the old rose-tinted glasses, you do miss it. It is nice, it is fun, it is rewarding to do it, especially when you see the final results. So would I do it again? Yes. And I want to do it again. But would I choose this car to do it again with? That's the sort of sticking point. Now, when I originally got a Classic, it's because I missed my old two-seater convertible Roadster. I had a Smart Roadster, which, you know, they're a bit Marmite, but I loved it. Loved driving it. Great fun. Roof off summer, country lanes, like driving a go-kart. Great fun. And I thought if I had a chance to drive another car like that again, I would. Hence why I looked at Classics. Classics, obviously, in the UK, being what they are, tax and MOT exempt, anything after 40 years, cheap insurance, cheap to run. You can leave it in the garage or down the side of the house for most of the year and you're not really losing money. You're only paying to insure it and put fuel into it, so you're not paying tax for something repeatedly that you're not using. So that was the attraction of it. Now, whilst it is great fun, don't get me wrong, I have nothing against the Spit. It is still great fun. It always brings a smile on my face when I get into it and I drive it on those warm, sunny summer days, which we just don't get that many of in the UK. So will I do it again with a Spit? No. As I say, not because I've got something against the Spit, but purely because I actually enjoy driving the Classic more than I thought I would. I thought driving it would be a bit laborious, a bit of a ball ache, a pain in the ass, and it would be a special occasion sort of car, and even then it would be, okay, I'll take the car out because now I've done the work, I feel like I have to. But it wasn't like that at all. I actually really, really enjoyed driving the car, and I still do enjoy driving the car. So much so that I wish I'd done a car with a roof. And that's where we're going with this. Now, of course, people will say, well, you have got a roof on the Spit. It's got a soft top. It just fold. Yeah, okay, it does. But the soft top on them is like the soft top on most British cars, notoriously crap. They leak like a sieve. This one is really, really tight. It doesn't fit very well. It takes a lot of effort to get your hand in there and get the old bars done up and get the poppers on. It's just a pain in the ass. It takes so long to put the soft top up. You may as well have just driven home in the rain. Get a hardtop then, I hear people say. Well, I've been looking for a hardtop locally for this car for 3 years, and I can't find one. There are some around in the country, but I'm not willing to drive 6 hours out of my way and 6 hours back to go and pick up a hardtop. I'm just not going to do it. Because again, I live in the ass end of Cornwall, and it's a ball ache to drive anywhere. So I'm just not going to do that. Plus the hardtop for the 1500, the old square, it's not a very nice hardtop in my opinion. I much prefer the rounded Mark III style hardtop, which of course doesn't fit on this because the back end is different. Hence why I was thinking about making my own Ashley style fastback hardtop, which again, I still may do one day. I've done the front end. I can do the same thing again with a hardtop. But we're getting back into the fiberglass in and it's a lot of work. So that's a very roundabout way of me saying that if I could go back and do this again, I wouldn't pick a Spitfire because I'd want something I could drive all year round. I would have picked a Herald, a 1360, and that will be probably my next car to do. The front of the 1360, that aggressive looking grille with the lights, I don't care what anyone says, that's probably the best looking front end on any car I've seen for a long time. I love the look of the front of that car. It looks so nasty. That in black, with some nice wheels, coilovers, maybe an engine swap, possibly an MX-5 engine, drivetrain, rear end, maybe. That's my ideal scenario, to make a modern, turnkey, fuel-injected car from a classic like a Herald 1360. Now, of course, I could just buy a Herald 1360. There are a few of them around, not many close enough for me for my liking, and some of them are way overpriced for what they are, but some aren't. Some are in my ballpark. Obviously, I want a restoration project. I don't want a clean finished car that's been freshly resprayed that I'm going to have to sand back to paint in, my preferred colour. I want a fixer-upper, which will be this, going through this all again, which is cool. I miss it. As I say, I want to do it again. The problem I have here is space. Whilst I've got a decent sized driveway out there, if I am going to have a classic and use it as a daily, ideally I want it undercover. British cars, I say British cars, most cars are notorious for rust, aren't they? Don't even get me started on Italian cars. But British cars, yes they do. They rust. But all cars rust. We're talking about cars that are 50 odd years, sometimes 60 years old, that are being kept outside. Of course they're going to rust. All cars rust. It's just steel. Especially in this part of the world, we're so close to the sea. The salt air just eats cars alive here. Don't ever buy a car from Cornwall. Okay, if you're looking at a second-hand car, even between the garage, it's probably annihilated underneath. But I don't have the space. The side of the house where I am now, which I call the garage, is barely big enough for my car, as you can see. There's no way you fit two cars in here. I've got a driveway, but if I'm going to work on the Herald, then it means that the herald needs to come in here, which means this needs to go outside, and I don't want to put this outside, even putting a cover over it. I don't want to put it outside. It's a busy main street. There's lots of people up and down. Buses pulling up outside my house. It's a pain in the ass, and I just don't want the liability of having a car that I've spent so much time on. The locks don't work. The roof doesn't come up. You know, you could walk up, pull the cover back, have a look. Oh, this is nice. Go inside and take the gear knob out or something. I just don't want the risk of doing that. Or I work on the herald outside in the driveway in the busy street. It's just not going to happen. Unless, of course, I sold the Spit. If I sold the Spit, got rid of it, I could bring the herald in here and I could work on it in here and it would be my other car. That seems like a logical solution, but I just can't bring myself to sell this car. I've put so much time and effort into this car. You could say money as well, but the money's the last thing on the list for me. I've just put so much time and effort into this car to make it what it is now that you're never going to get your money back on a car like this, for starters. You do an E-Type Jag or something, fine, and you restore it and you make it immaculate factory finish like you see on all the high-level restoration videos. Sure, you're going to make your money back. But some poor sod like me down the side of his house doing a budget amateur restoration on a car like this, you're just never going to get your money back on it at all. I say that I'd get my money back, but I wouldn't make any money from it. Not that was ever in my intention in the first place. If you're looking to make money, I would say classic, restoring classic cars is a tough business to get into. I would never dream of doing it to try and make money. It'd be a nightmare. You never get your hours back. So I can't sell it. If someone walks up and offers me money, if I was out driving one day and someone came up and said, "Oh, nice car, mate, I'll give you 6 grand, 7 grand for it," I'd go, "All right." I'd have the V5 in my pocket and I would, "Thank you very much." But they wouldn't. If someone's going to come along and they want a class like this, they'll offer you 1, maybe 2, 2.5, 3 at a push, and it's just not worth it. So the plan is, at some point in the near future, to move house to a bigger house in a slightly quieter area, somewhere where a double garage. This is my sticking point. The wife wants a nice lawn and the trees and I want the double garage. Or at least a decent sized garage I can fit 2 cars in, and then I can do my restoration thing and I can actually buy tools, etc. Because in here, as I say, there's just no space to do anything. So yes, in a weird turn of fate, I do kind of regret buying this car, but for the right reasons, because I like it so much that I wish I bought a car with a factory fit hardtop that I could drive every day of the year, and I could get rid of my daily car and just drive a classic every day, which I would. I never thought I'd see that one coming. I thought I'd do it, hate it, and sell it, or it would just sit here and languishing, and it turns out I love it more than I thought I would. Who knew? And finally, I have to say, thank you all the people that have. This isn't an end to what I'm doing, by the way. Don't think this is like some kind of farewell send-off. It's not. But I just wanted to say, all the people that have commented over the last few years since day one, when I rolled this car in here and it was just a rusting hulk and it was wet and I was stood here with boxes of bits and ripped upholstery and rust everywhere, thinking, what the hell have I done? Which is probably what most people who undertake a classic restoration think when they get it in front of them. It's always worse than you think it is. You start tearing into it and you think, oh man, this is a lemon. What have I done? Why have I done this? But it's been a huge learning curve for me. Doing the entire car yourself with just a Haynes manual and occasionally YouTube, I've learned so much about classic cars. It's unreal. I watch other people doing classic car videos, as I'm sure most of you do, and they're struggling to get the engine running and things, and I'm sat there going, timing, you're 180 out on the timing, and they go around the houses, and it turns out they come back and they go, yeah, 10 minutes later, oh, you won't believe it, I was 1 out on the time, 180 out on the timing. You go, ha! So it's always a nice thing to be right. I learned a lot. And again, as I say, invaluable comments from a lot of people who have commented on this. And as I've said from the beginning, I'm no YouTuber. I'm not here to be a YouTuber. I'm never going to ask you to like, share, subscribe, or any of the other good stuff. If you do, awesome. Thank you very much. It means that people are watching. But I'm never going to ask you to do it. I'm not a fledgling YouTube wannabe. No, it's just not me. But I do appreciate all your input and everyone watching it. So I just wanted to make sure that I always say thank you. So thank you. And I'll see you again.